I'm excited for today's call. We're gonna have it be a little bit shorter today, but it's gonna be power packed and right to the punch. I've got multiple time Hall of Fame producer, integrity partner, Jack Yuan. Nick, if you could promote Jack up. What's up, Jack? How we doing, man?
Going on, Jamie? Thanks for having me on today.
Jack, how many times have you hit Hall of Fame?
Oh, I should actually count. It's a few.
Is it like five? Is it seven? Like I didn't
Yeah,
want
something
to
like
discount
six.
six or
Yeah,
seven. Okay,
yeah,
so
yeah.
Jack might be one of the probably the number one person who's hit Hall of Fame the most times. So thank you for joining us, man. You're in California, right?
Correct.
Awesome. And how you were selling insurance before where we're at now? What's like total amount of years you've been selling insurance?
Woo. Let's see. Probably got started in 2008, but bounced around, didn't have success. Went from one company, went to another company, met Andrew Taylor and a couple people, and then we came over to Family First Life, and that's when it really started picking up.
Incredible. Okay, so I just have to like elephant in the room, 2008. What was it like selling insurance in 2008 in person? And you were selling mortgage protection too, weren't you?
No, I started off with a company that did like something like they call it union workers, and we were doing only final expense, and it was a really tough gig because this place boasted that they give you free leads, right? So every month, this is back in the day, right? Everything it wasn't digital, there's no AI. We were actually using Thomas Guide, which is like a map to get around,
Wow.
right? Yeah, and they give you this like Mission Impossible. They give you like a packet of leads. Like so you get 30 a month, 30. So that's like one a day. So it's like we knew we of course we'd be calling them like there's no tomorrow, but we literally it was so bad. Like you get these leads and they're like 3 years old and they're like mustard and coffee stains. You know what the guy had for lunch, the guy before you. And for like by the end of the month, we were so starving, we'd post up at their house, like go to client's house and like take turns. Like, okay, I'm gonna take a nap. Jamie, you keep a lookout. And then, and and then when the client would show up and get home, like we'd bounce out of the bushes like bounty hunter or something. Like, hey, you filled this out 7 years ago. You want life insurance, right?
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's
So
that's crazy. So I definitely want to hear a little bit more about kind of the transformation from that to where we are now and kind of what it looks like for you. And you've seen it change so much, but I know one of the stories that, I've heard Sean, I've heard Andrew talk about is that like you weren't necessarily like top producer right out the gates. Like it took you
no.
some work to kind of figure it out. So talk to us a little bit about that because we've got some people on here who just all across the board, new agents, veteran agents, everyone in between, people who maybe have been here for a while, but they haven't figured it out. And maybe that story of yours could resonate with those people specifically because, like, I've been here for 6 months or a year and I've sold a couple policies, but by no means am I making a living off of this. I really want to make this work. Like, tell us a little bit about that.
Cool. Thanks, Jamie. So yeah, I mean, I had already been in an insurance company for like almost a year, didn't hardly make any money, and then left the industry and said, okay, I'm moving on. And it was a couple years down the road, I had a job finally. Um, it was paying all right, but it was never going to get me to the next level ever. And the boss was really a jerk, so I was still looking. And then I got back involved, but the challenge for me was like I felt like I'd been there and done that, right? And I kept asking myself, what am I doing back here trying to sell life insurance again? So I was really skeptical,
Yeah.
right? I doubted everything. I was like really like they talk about find people that you want to work with that you like working with that are coachable. That probably wasn't me. I was like, what about these leads and what about that? But I think the one thing is, a lot of people say, and when you're going through challenges in the startup, it's like, oh, really? They're like, just don't quit. I'm like, really? But in all transparency, I was pretty desperate at the time, and I really wanted something to work. But the thing that I think that was my saving grace was that there's so much transparency throughout the organization. Like they'll tell you, like, hey, look, I bought these leads. I got up in the morning and I made this many dials and I use this platform and we're using AI. And it's very an open environment where we can help each other and feed off each other's experience and stuff. And just getting on calls like that, calls like this, where you have people sharing their information, it was invaluable to me. I was like, okay, I'm not there yet, but I know people like you exist, and I want to aspire to be like that, so I'll work towards it.
100%, man. I guess like what was that like that turning point for you? Where was it like a confidence thing? Was it a, you didn't understand the products? Like was it a repetition thing? Like was it all in your head or was it like an activity thing?
Yeah, no, great question. I I really I think for the longest time, I'm a good example. I had a real chip on my shoulder. I had had so many years of sales experience in other industries before. I thought in the back of my mind, right? In the back of my mind, I thought like, this can't be that hard. It's not that hard. You know what I mean? I maybe I was like underestimating it. So I would, make very common and simple mistakes, because like what we do is not really complicated, but it takes a lot of work, I mean, look at the phone script. You're trying to book appointments. It's like only a two-line script. I've been in other companies where you had to memorize like, 4 pages of an intro before you could even get to the punch, but still, I'm a firm believer that it's very important to pay attention to those foundational things, like, hey, what do you say when somebody says this, and get the word tracks down. So for me, it was like, hey, trial and error, and then literally, like, I sought out people that had more experience than me, and I was asking questions, and I'd fail a lot, and I thought I was saying one thing and I'd be saying something totally different. I really thought like I was doing it the way it was supposed to be done, like on the presentation or something. I really wasn't. I wasn't following the book at all. And then I had to be called out on it, so you figure out, oh, okay, maybe it is me. And then, your little humility, and then I got back on track, and then I really started paying attention, and then when you can help people that are, because let's be transparent, right? Life insurance is really, really important. I really believe that now. It's a healthy part of a well-rounded portfolio. I mean, nowadays the average family has like a couple kids and 3 or 4 cars. You know what I mean? Not like when I was a kid, we all slept in one bedroom. You know what I mean? So the need for protection is there. Liability is there, and you love your family, right? So, this is important. But is it a priority? I mean, for real, not so much. It's not like, hey, honey, I'm home. How's your life insurance? Nobody wants to talk about it. Nobody talks about it. So we really have to go out there and be like represent, you know, you know, the cause. We serve a higher cause. So helping these people out is really important, right? But getting your lines down is key. Yeah.
100%. When I first got started in the business, um, working with Grady Polson, I got to meet his dad, who's like a legend in the insurance industry. And he was like, "Hey, man, welcome to the most honorable profession on the planet. Like at the end of someone's life, you get to be the person who's reaching back with a check, and you're not just the take, take, take like everyone else is in their life." And that was such a powerful thing, especially like getting my first death claim. So like, I definitely resonate with you on like this is an honorable profession, and anybody on here, like you can take comfort in the fact that like this business is here. It's not going anywhere. But it is evolving, and that's like the main thing that I want to spend the rest of this time talking about is like it's kind of evolve or get left behind. I mean, you were here when it was final expense. You were here when they started pushing internet leads, and that was like everyone's like, oh no, like internet leads. What are these? Transitioning from mortgage protection to something else, and then the big one was from in the home to telesales, and now because of telesales and technology, it seems like the transition is happening like even more rapidly. And like it feel like it took like 4 years, at least for me, to like see that major transition from like in the home to telesales. And then it's been like this 2 year period of telesales where I feel like it's transitioned like 100 times the speed. So like what has that been like for you? Like obviously number one, for you personally having to kind of get with it or get left behind, but then also you're coaching agents on like, hey, like you got to be scrappy here. Like I remember Josh said something to me the other day. He goes, "Do you have like a single lead vendor that you've ever like worked for 2 years straight without having to change?" And I was like, I don't think so. He's like, you've had to be scrappy, you've had to change with the times, and things change. So like, what advice would you give, and kind of what's your experience been like, kind of watching that change rapidly happen?
Yeah, no, I totally love that. You're absolutely right. Keeping up with the times, being flexible, being able to reinvent yourself time after time is part of, running a business. And the faster you are at, keeping up with that, the better you're going to be prepared for it. So that's something that you guys bring to the table. Look, I've done all kinds of leads throughout my days here, and all kinds of drip campaigns and stuff, and getting dialers and using software. But I didn't even realize that AI, I literally, I'm like so old school. Like I had to be taught, like, what is the difference between a drip and an AI drip? I was like, whoa. And like it's actually conversating with the people, and I'm looking at it and I'm laughing because they think it's me. You know what I mean? And I have to keep up with it too,
Yeah.
because like literally, it's exciting because I'll be texting them like I told you already. I'm, I'll meet you later at 3. I'm like, oh, I gotta go back and look at it. Like, oh, it was faster than me.
Yeah.
So it's really amazing. I mean, that and like you said, everything from vendors. You gotta be flexible. You know.
Mhm. So one of the other things, like I feel like there's also kind of like a balancing act to this because
Mm.
you have to be flexible, but then also there's like kind of shiny object syndrome where, I remember when telesales first started, I like almost had to like gatekeep the agents in our group, and I was like, hey, get off YouTube. I need you to like only watch this training and attend these calls, because the problem was somebody was doing live transfers and someone was doing mortgage protection on social media and this person's doing this and that, and there was just so many directions to go. And I don't know if you like ever did this with your kids, but they have like these choose your own adventure books where it's like turn to page 7 if you want to do this, or turn to page 13 if you want to do this. And that's kind of like, it confused me for a long time, and it gave me like a little bit of anxiety around getting new agents started because there were so many directions you could go. Do you want to go in home or do you want to sell over the phone? Of course, almost everybody chose over the phone. But then once you made that decision, it's like there's about 700 directions that we could go. And then you get agents who try one thing and they want to try another thing. So like if you had an agent who, you're coaching and maybe, they've tried one thing and they're kind of continuing to try things, like what's your advice for like when does it make sense to try something new versus kind of stick out what you're doing?
Well, that's a good question. I think the good thing about what we do is that many of us are still in it, right? I love helping families, and that's what keeps it fresh for me, finding out people's stories and stuff. So I'm doing it while they're doing it together. So we usually do it as a consortium and say, hey, look, I'm making a switch right here. But I think the most important thing you mentioned is if somebody is thinking about trying something new, definitely run it by your people first,
Mm,
because that's one of the biggest downfalls is people that they I mean it's just natural. You get a little concerned, you get a little antsy, you want faster results. And if you spread, we only have a limited budget, right? So you start spreading it all over the place and it could get soaked up pretty fast. So I think it's important to uh, use sources that are other people are using too, and you can have some good feedback on it first.
mm.
Talk to your people about it first.
Yeah, it's like you got a nice little sounding board of people that will tell you, hey, like you're being a little bit too like quick-footed here. Like let's slow down here. And it's like I remember I was doing one particular vendor for some trucker leads, and then it got really popular, and everyone started ordering them, and my quality went down like crazy, and everything in me was like jump ship, jump ship, jump ship. But then somebody gave me some good advice, and they were like, "Hey, man, if it's like this for you, it's like this for everyone else too, and it's more likely that they're all going to jump ship before you do." And the vendor's trustworthy, they can turn it around. There's a problem here, but like let's just give it another 2 weeks. So I gave it another 2 weeks, and what do you know? 90% of the people in that particular, phase of the vendor, they had all canceled, and the vendor turned it around, and then everything came back super high intent. And I'm glad I didn't switch because I would have had to totally restart the process. So it's like when you switch vendors, specifically with leads, like you've got that warm up period a lot of times where it's like you're kind of waiting for the compound effect to start to happen of like leads dripping in every single day. So it's like there are some scenarios where it makes sense to just kind of, dig your feet in and get a little bit scrappy where it's like, you know what, these 2 weeks kind of suck, but like maybe you got to go back and call some leads that you haven't gotten a hold of for the last 2 months. And you got to make something happen. So I'm sure you've experienced that as well. But then, you got technology now, and it's like not just leads. You've got CRMs and all kinds of different things, dialers, inbound, all kinds of stuff. What are like things that you think I guess are important for agents to have from like a tech stack? So like you've got in a tech stack, you've got things like um going from a paper calendar to like a Google calendar, or using some sort of a system to track your stuff. You've got Obviously AI, we talked about that for conversational booking. You've got, websites. Like what do you think are like the things that are important for agents to have?
Well, I think something like a dialing platform is key, right?
Yeah.
Because you can't be using your phone all the time, right? Spam is a big issue, right? So finding the right dialing platform, whether it's Ringy or something like a Kixie, is key. It gives you, more chances to get a hold of the client through various area codes. But the big thing you got to keep your eye on is spam. So but
Yeah.
I think that's the first go-to is having a dialing platform. And I've been using a dialer for a long time. Dialers are good, but I think the most important thing is like if you're going to run your own thing. I mean, I had a dialer and I wasn't going to let them dial my new leads and they're brand new. So I literally trained my dialer up from scratch, and I've been working with the same person for 8 years now. Right. So,
Wow.
yeah. So, but it was key that I think it's very key before anybody steps foot into getting a dialer that they really have a firm command of everything phone. And that's pretty simple. I mean, the phone script itself, and then know how to strongly deal with a handful of objections, like all day long, like, I'm not interested, call me back later. You got to get really good at handling just a few objections because what it boils down to is your ability to quality control. All right. If you have a dialer, you want to make sure they're dialing, number one. Number two, you got to make sure that they're able to overcome objections, right? And then you've got to be able to, point them in the right direction and make sure they're doing a good job. And then who knows, maybe someday they're sick or maybe they walk out. You got to be ready to get back on the phone right away. you know.
Yes, that's fact. I think that one of the Josh and I, this is kind of a hill that we'll die on, is like don't hire a dialer if you're not willing to train them
Right.
because it's just going to be a waste of money.
Right.
It's going to be a waste of money and a waste of time.
Totally. And I wouldn't advise anybody to get a dialer until they've really, really figured it out themselves.
Yeah, 100%. Because like once you have kind of figured it out yourself, and I remember, I really like that you said, you got to be ready to get back on the phone, just at a minute's notice, just in case. I remember, um, I think beginning of 2025, I went out to corporate, and this is right when Lead Champ was starting, and they interviewed me, and like the title of the video was Jamie hasn't dialed in 6 months. And I had a dialer and I had AI and all these things. And then right after the video came out, like something happened and everything went off a cliff, and I was right back on the phone dialing because I wasn't getting the appointment count that I needed. And whether that was dialer skill, lead quality, whatever, it doesn't matter. It was either I feed my family or I just let what happens happen and not get appointments, and this whole thing falls apart. So like you do have to be ready at a moment's notice to just kind of get back on the phone, because then also like I do have a dialer, I do have AI, I have all those things. Well, you know what? Last week I woke up and I had $10,000 in chargebacks hit one carrier, and that sucks. But I've been here before, and I started dialing on top of my dialer. I started calling all my no-shows, all my incomplete appointments, all the things. And I woke up this morning and it's like $1,000, and that was 6 days ago with one carrier. So it's like you have to kind of have that scrappy mentality to be able to jump back on the phone at any time if you have to.
I love that. I'm scrappy too.
Yeah,
I
you have to be. I don't think you'll survive in this business.
love that. I'm gonna
Um,
remember that.
I mean, so there's surviving in this business, and I want to get like, what's your best piece of advice for someone to survive? Number one, but then like surviving is not enough. Like we want people to like get ahead. So like surviving, and it's kind of cliche, surviving versus thriving in the business. But like, how can somebody like be here a year from now and not have the business take them out? And then what can they do to kind of get ahead?
Fair enough. So I was just having this conversation with one of my partners, and uh, you know, we talk about leads and lead purchases, right? So there's three things that you can do in your business to change the outcome, right? Three variables that you can adjust, right? Of course, there's leads, that's the resources and how much you spend on leads each week, right? Number two is your effectiveness, using
Yeah.
things like AI, right? Using things like a calling platform, right? Your hours that you work, you can get on 2 hours early, you can be the last one to leave at night, you can work half a day on Saturday, you know? And then number three is your skill set, right? Are you on podcasts? Are you listening to the conference calls? Are you practicing role playing and getting better at your craft? Right. So the one thing that I realized because the first thing you pay attention to is your leads, right? And then we go through all the back end stuff, and then you want to make sure that you're consistent on all three fronts. But turn around, go backwards, and say, hey, you know what? The one thing I can change overnight is my lead spend. So I have a lot of partners, agents that are running and maybe doing 10, 12, 15, a month in volume, and they're spending they're spending a decent amount on leads every week, right? And but I mean, with chargeback, when you net out the calculation, of course they are profitable. They are profitable, but they're not crazy busy, and they're not where they want to be profitability wise.
Yeah.
Fair enough. So the one piece of advice that I had for those people is, the thing that saved me is that early on I was willing to double down.
Yeah.
Double down. So if you double down on your lead spend, you're profitable. It's not an easy decision to make because we got life, we got bills, we got things going on. But if you make that internal leap of faith, you are already profitable you know, in light of the fact that you want your appointments to get more at bats, more appointments, more closes, more, less chargebacks, better skill set. In light of the fact we're going to work on all those fronts as well, doubling down could be the solution to keeping you up. And once you get past, so once you start hitting, say 30K a month, it's believe it or not, it's some sort of magical threshold. Once you start hitting 30K, you usually don't go backwards.
Mm,
But if you're hovering around 15, 18, 12, it's very easy to go backwards. You know what I mean?
yeah. 100%.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. It's like once you've proven that you can sell like 12 grand a month, like you've proven that you can sell life insurance, and then it really just becomes the activity. It's like, what dial am I going to turn? Am I going to turn well, I'm going to dial the leads that I do have, the $500 in leads that I have right now. I'm going to dial them 4 times as much, or I'm going to start spending a grand or 2 grand on leads instead of 500, and I'm going to turn up the volume. And then same thing, maybe, still dial more. So it's either I'm going to spend more or I'm going to dial more, or I'm going to spend more and dial more. But I know that if I turn those two dials, once I've proven I can sell life insurance, it's inevitable to not be a 30, 40K producer.
Yeah. But the hardest part is it hurts,
Yes.
because we're talking about people that can do 15K. Right. You can. They're already doing 12, 15K. It hurts because they're actually spending what we should spend
Yeah.
on. It's not, you're not doing anything wrong. I have people that spend $300, $400 a week and they're broke. You know what I mean? And they're constantly hating life. But we talk about people that are right there, 12, 15, 18K, haven't really broken through. But, I mean, it's a combination of factors. Like if you want to break it down, right? Your activity. Double your lead spend, you'll double your activity. Double your activity, where ideally at least you're going to double your profit margin. You may even get better with synergy because suddenly I have more confidence this month. Because I mean, even I got no show just as much. Instead of having XYZ a number of appointments, I have double the appointments. So your confidence goes up, right? And then, surprising things like your activity level goes up. So you're busy, right? Number three, you're at risk. Like people having skin in the game, right? The best way to get somebody to come and work is not me giving you free leads. It's old leads. It's for you to actually go spend $1,000. Now think about the pressure that's on when you go spend double that. You know what I mean? So it's something I found to be kind of a magical thing. And again, like I said, one of the things we found once you break 30K, once you actually break that threshold, even if you literally, if you're buying more leads, you're paying to get there. Does that make sense? Something you
Yeah.
couldn't do in something you can't do in high school. Right? But you could pay to get to 30K. Somehow, if you break the 30K mark and you spent money to get there, somehow your profit, your net profit will be greater, and somehow you'll never come back down. I don't know
Yeah.
if that's a fair statement.
Absolutely, man. All right. We'll keep it short today. Any final advice or anything that you want to say to the audience?
Yeah, like I said at the beginning, we're all running through challenges throughout the year, Jamie. Thanks for sharing. And like change everything from changing lead vendors to having chargebacks. I mean, it's part of the business, but I mean, once you can climb above it, rise above it, there'll come a day when you reach an actualization. Be like, hey, thank God everything's moving smoothly. I'm getting paid, and for me, it was like it just dawned on me like a big burden was lifted off my chest. Like, hey, I'm gonna be all right. We're all gonna be all right, and chargebacks don't bother me more anymore. Spending money on leads doesn't bother me anymore, and I'm able to run a consistent, predictable business. Yeah, so just don't quit.
Just don't quit.
Just
Well,
don't
thank you
quit.
so much, Jack. We appreciate you. Everybody got getting good comments and text messages from people who are on the call. So thank you very much.
Hey, see here. Just to make sure I get everything, see if Jamie's still here. There might be, yeah. So, a few things that we want to let everybody know to look out for. We want to give you some heads up on moving further. And then when we get done, Nick's going to come back and we actually have a poll. We want to get your input on some stuff so you can kind of tell us what you want to see on some things moving forward. So, value that. So, one thing that I'll just kind of in general say that with if anybody's had issues with the buttons over the last 2 weeks, you go to hit the button and it doesn't submit. We have officially 100% solved that, figured that out. It was a back end thing. And like a lot of these things, sometimes you look at something 17 times and it looks great. And then on the 18th time, you're like, how did I miss that? So that is 100% solved. You should not have that issue anymore. So just know that. Um, the second thing is a small thing, but more and more, not a ton, but more and more people have asked for, hey, when I go and I make a sale, um, this person, some people get, they're like, hey, my billing's on the 15th, on the 1st, on the all that. But like, what if they're on Social Security billing? I want them to get the payment reminders and everything on Social Security billing, which is like the second Wednesday of the month, third Wednesday of the month, fourth Wednesday of the month. And so as of like first of the week, now if you make a sale today, you can go choose those things. As about the first of the week, those will all be updated and your clients will start getting payment reminders on the second, third, or fourth of the month, which was not really an easy thing to do because it's not like a static date. It changes every single month. So that was kind of an interesting one to handle. But we now can say that we offer Social Security billing. So just make sure when you're filling out the what happened button, it'll say monthly draft. That is one of the top options. Or if you're not familiar with the change policy status button. So when you're inside of a contact, there's two buttons. There's the what happened button and there's action buttons. And if you click on action buttons, there's change policy status. And this is for you sent somebody to underwriting and they just got approved. You have to go in there and you have to click the button approved, and it's going to prompt you to put in like payment date and all that stuff to make sure it's up to date, because sometimes when you send somebody to underwriting, you don't know what their billing date's going to be because you don't know when they're going to get approved. So make sure you come in here, and this is like your policy management button, right? Approved, declined, missed payment. Um, Jamie, like if you were to quantify how much money the missed payment button saves you in either a month or a year, what would you guess?
Um, 50 grand a year, 60
If
grand a year, maybe more.
50 grand a year
That
in
that's then the like I would, and that might be, it might be doing a disservice because I'm doing it off of 4 policies a month getting saved, and that's off of $1,000 in annual premium in my mind. But my average premium is 3,300 per sale, so it could be 100 grand a year.
Yeah, yeah, it's no small amount, but if you're not using it, then it's not saving you any. So make sure you're coming in here and hitting the policy status button so you can, get updated. Third thing, okay, this is I don't want this to come across like doomsday or anything like that, but it might just a little bit. So um, a number of users over the last couple of days. Now, we've been aware of this and we're working on this for a while now, but you might have seen that your messages are erroring and not going out. And if you hover over the little red triangle, if that happens, it'll tell you why. And it says carrier filtered. And so regulations continue to increase, and um, different industries and sectors are more uh, being looked at than others. For example, here over the last month or two, the mortgage industry people cannot get LCP approved for mortgages, right? That is not true for life insurance, but it is true for like mortgage brokers. And so certain keywords, some phone carriers are starting to filter things out. Now it's not like a for sure this is what it is. There is no published list. There is no guidelines on this stuff at all. It's just purely us doing research, talking to people, trying different things, talking to whoever has information on this, and just large data, right? But certain keywords, one being mortgage protection, looks like it is going to increasingly get filtered out by the carriers. So we've already updated some of the language to say different things. Some, instead of saying getting back to you about the mortgage protection, we're saying, hey, we're getting back to you about that request for coverage on your home, right? So if you say this and you're like, hey, it doesn't say the thing that I've always said, it's like, well, hey, we have to adapt or die. And so we're actually building a complete overhaul. It's no small task. It's going to be 300 messages that we have to write and creating a new delivery mechanism. So we're working on that in the back end, but in the short term, we're kind of updating messages, seeing what works, what doesn't. So if that is you, there's been a few of you over the last couple of days. We already have made some tweaks and changes. Send them in, and we're just going to keep tweaking as we go. So just know that that's a thing. We're already kind of aware of it, and we're making changes moving forward. The next thing, Jamie, is you want to go over the VMU form stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. We can definitely do that. Okay. So previously, and this is something that'll be coming here shortly, but previously, over here on the side menu, if you wanted to update your VMU site, there's like a VMU updater. For anybody who's like, well, where is that? If I want to update a license, for now, you'll come up here to start here. And we're going to really build out this section of checklist here. So you've got like the Welcome to Lead Champ Pro, getting started, tour of the system. There'll be a whole section for Send Blue here shortly, as well as some more like advanced trainings on like different niche, more advanced things that you can do with Lead Champ. So we're really going to add that stuff in here. But you'll come to Welcome to Lead Champ Pro, and you'll scroll down to the Build Verify My Underwriter website, and you'll open up this form here where you can go ahead and update your name, email, phone number, bio, photo, upload your licenses, etc. And then always make sure that you're pressing submit, and then that will go ahead and update your VMU website. Also, if you ever need to update your self-checkout link, same thing here. You can update here. You could drop in your Ethos link, your Instabrain link, your quote and enroll link, whatever your self-checkout link is. You can just copy, paste, and submit, and then it will automatically update for all of the future messages. You missing anything, Josh?
No, I think that's good. So yeah, if well, I don't know if you mentioned this specifically. So if you ever want to update the phone number that shows up when it says, hey, so and so, I'm going to be calling you from this number for our appointment, that is where you need to go and update that number. So for whatever reason, if today you're like, I got this new number, or I want this number to show up for my appointments, go there, update your phone number, and then that will update the messages automatically. So that's all you have to do. I think that is it for now. Do you want to show the contact page?
Yeah, for sure. So some updates, guys, that are coming. So this is the contact page that you guys know and maybe love, hate, I don't know. But this is what we've been rocking with for a while. So you've got the contacts page, and then you've got your inbox. So some major updates to like what's called the UI, which is user interface. So you guys can see here, we've got this is what you know. And now we're going to switch over here to what's coming next. So this is the updated contact section. So I'm inside of a contact. So you can see some of this has changed pretty dramatically. So all of the tags are moved up top. You can search any field that you're looking for. You can do your D&D and up here, and then actions. This is going to take you to your pipelines as well as your workflows. So a little bit of a change, a little bit of a cleaner experience over here. But you still have all of these same custom fields over here on the side. the little green phone call button is now up here. You can mark your messages same way you did in your inbox. And then this is kind of my favorite part here is the notes section. So in the notes section, you now can color code your notes. You can title your notes. So in this scenario, if I wanted to do, I wanted to title this, I wanted to bold this, I wanted to make it purple, I can go ahead and I can do that for different kinds of notes, which is nice. Same thing here, though, if you want to set your appointments, none of that really has changed, just a slightly different look to the interface. And I know when things change, people are like, where is it? It's all for the most part in the same places. All your documents, your notes, etc., all exist right here. And then we'll jump over to the inbox. Inbox also looks slightly different. Again, I'll do the comparison. So this is your old inbox, and this is your new inbox. So things are a little bit bigger. You can jump into your contacts still by clicking here. Here's a couple of things. Has anybody ever been inside of a contact and maybe you're doing a dial session and you really want to get back to this page and you click this back button and it doesn't work and you click it and click it and click it. So then you have to like jump to calendars and back to contacts if you want to get there.
Yep.
With the new interface, every single time, if you click the back button, it takes you where you're supposed to go. So that's nice. So again, it looks a little bit different. You've got, everything here. You can also see when you have a user that's doing something versus automation, which is kind of cool. So let me see if I can find an example here. These are all outbound. This is not a great example. Let me jump to a different contact here. But you can see basically what your messages are versus what's automation, which is cool to be able to see. So I can see automation when I hover over this versus if I were to manually message here, it would say my name.
And then also like AI will show up as a user message. So I know
Mhm.
sometimes people get confused, like what's automation, what's AI, and so you'll be able to tell. Like obviously, if it's like Josh sent this message, you're like, well, I didn't send that message, so definitely it's AI versus like what's just like a workflow automation.
Yeah. So I mean that's the major thing here, and then I also just want to make sure again we've got our support button over here. I've had a few people that are like, "Man, it's covering up XYZ. How do I move it?" If you put your mouse over top of it, you got these little 6 dots. You can drag it up and down. Okay. So for anybody who ever gets frustrated that they can't move it out of the way, just make sure you drag it. And yeah, only other things that I'll really highlight on without screen sharing. New VMU site is coming. I'm excited. It's the best one yet, and it's probably, I don't want to quantify it, but I feel like it's like 100 times better than the current one. And the current one's like 100 times better than the first one. I wish you guys could see the first one. It was real bad. But the new one that's coming, I'm really excited about. As well as the buttons that you guys see in the top right corner that are like add contact, add beneficiary, add referral, all that stuff. That is going to be condensed down into one button. And one of the things that's going to be added to that button is a add existing client button. So right now, if you wanted to add any book of business, clients from the past, you pretty much had to upload it to our spreadsheet, do a whole thing. We're basically making it so if you ever have a one-off old client that you just want to be able to add in one client, very easily you'll be able to go in, fill out the information, put them into the proper workflow without having to put them into the book of business spreadsheet, which we're excited about. So all that to say, we are going to be switching over to the new contact and inbox interface soon. We haven't decided the exact date yet, but it's contingent on us making some new videos. Not much has changed, but we know that there's going to be some people it's going to change and they're going to freak out. Just like when, like, I don't know, like Instagram, they decided to do an update and it's like, oh, the inbox used to be in the middle and now the inbox is up in the top right corner. What the heck? This sucks. Or when iPhone changes something and you're like, oh, this used to be there, it's not there anymore. That's going to happen. So we will be making this change, but we're going to make some videos for you guys to make sure that you at least have something to reference if you're not sure where something is. So stay tuned on those details and we'll let you guys know before we make that switch.
Yeah, real quick, Jamie, Robert Adams asked for the VMU site, is that anything they need to do or it's going to auto update? I don't know if we've decided exactly how we're going to roll that out.
As of right now, what's likely going to happen is we will give you guys like something to fill out where if you want to upgrade and it's free, like you don't have to do anything, but you just let us know because it's kind of a one-off situation where we'll go into your account and basically turn on the update. Some people will be like, no, I like the old one better. If you like the old one better, that's fine. You can keep it. But yeah, you'll just message in once we're ready and we'll turn it on for you. I guess it'll be a little bit more than just turning it on because we got a bunch of new features. I don't want to list out all of them right now, but there'll be some things that you need to fill out. Like, for instance, your favorite carriers in like a top 10 order, because we're going to give you the ability to display what carriers you want on your site. So Sheila can have different carriers than Josh, and Josh can have different carriers than Elise in a different order, which is going to be super nice. So there's a handful of things like that. So you will have to fill something out. We'll let you guys know as soon as we're ready.
Yeah, definitely, definitely.
Office hours now is going to be moving to 1 p.m. Eastern time on Mondays and Fridays. Was previously noon Eastern time. If you're an FFL, which most of y'all are, some of you guys are not, so it's not relevant. Two of the biggest calls of the week that are happening corporate wide are happening in those exact same time frames. So it's not super fair to have office hours during the base shop call and Sean Mike's weekly training. So we decided to move it to 1 p.m. on Mondays and Fridays, and so we're still kind of deciding as volume increases of tickets and stuff if we're going to do a Wednesday call. So we'll definitely keep you guys updated on that.
You want to show them the banner real quick too?
Yes. And then one other update. Basically, if you're looking for updates and you're like, hey, what's coming? This is new. When you log in and go to the stats page, we've got this little banner here. So you'll be able to see, hey, office hours are changing if you want to catch last week's recording. So I think this one's from 2 weeks ago. So Derek's will be up here, soon from last week, and Jack's will be up here, shortly after. And we'll just start promoting what's coming right here. So this will also be a place where if a new feature comes, like for instance, when we launch the new, contact section, I'll make a video explaining it and it'll live here and you'll be able to come back and watch it anytime, that we have a new feature or something that's happening that we want you guys to hear about. We have the banner right there on the stats page.
Awesome. Awesome. Other than that, we'll be on office hours Friday at 1, and then we'll be back next week right here. New information, new things to talk about, new polls, and new jokes from Nick. So everybody have a great day.